Why is no one ready? Hello, it's Adam. Welcome back to the channel. I encourage you to gird your loins because today we are talking about the highly anticipated, the long-awaited sequel, The Devil Wears Prada 2. I enjoy the original Devil Wears Prada, but I don't think it's like a perfect masterpiece. I do think people kind of have it on this pedestal because it is so endlessly quotable, but it's a fun time. I am not someone who feels as precious about the original as a lot of other people, but it is a big classic in a lot of people's eyes, and rightfully so. And as far as legacy sequels go, The Devil Wears Prada 2 is solid. Picking up 20 years after the original, The Devil Wears Prada 2 follows Andy Sachs as she is laid off from her newspaper, and in an attempt to find a new job, unexpectedly finds herself back at the offices of Runway as their editorial editor. However, this time around, in the ever-evolving landscape of journalism, she tasks herself with maybe potentially keeping Runway alive and preserving Miranda as the institution she is. What I really appreciate about The Devil Wears Prada 2 is that it is intentional. There is like a purpose to it. It's not simply just like reviving a bunch of nostalgic things and like winking to the camera, although there is some of that. This sequel is reflecting on the state of journalism and media as we know it, how it's ever evolving, how like we see these big corporations come in and really gut these institutions and send these journalists packing. I think it's really interesting that this big mega sequel is really locking in on that and doing it in an honest way. I don't think it really shies away from all of that. I think it's a really smart way to bring these characters back to life in 2026. I think it's a really great way to bring Runway back. If we're gonna do this, let's examine it in the scope of now. And you know, journalism hasn't just changed a lot in the last 20 years. The fashion industry has changed a lot over the last 20 years, and I think they really embrace that as well. There's not a lot of like scoffing at the way workplaces have evolved, the way the fashion industry has evolved, the way journalism has evolved. They really embrace it and really weave it into the fabric of the film, and in doing so, it makes these characters evolve. You know, Andy feels like she has a lot more urgency. She has a lot more to say as she's trying to like fight for journalism to have a place here and do it with meaning. Miranda becomes even more interesting as she is really questioning her place in this landscape. Is it time for her to move on to greener pastures? When is it time to say goodbye? When has she cemented her legacy as enough? It's also played really well for comedy. You know, there's a lot of references to Miranda's old behavior and how nowadays you really can't act like that. So I think it breeds a lot of comedy for her to navigate these new things, these new practices. There's several moments of Miranda trying to juggle her way through inclusive language, and that's a riot. So yes, like legacy sequels feel like a cash grab. They're not always warranted, but at least The Devil Wears Prada has something to say, and I think a follow-up to The Devil Wears Prada in the year 2026 makes a lot of sense. Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt, they all step right back into these characters kind of flawlessly. It's like zero time has passed, but you can feel the years under their belts. Like I said, Andy feels more confident, but she still immediately reverts back to that like flailing, awkward young woman that we knew in the first one when she's in Miranda's presence. I think we get to see maybe a little bit of a softer side of Miranda as she is navigating this landscape, as she is trying to figure out what's next. Stanley Tucci, per usual, has like a lot of these great one-liners. I think Emily Blunt is maybe a little underused. I just wish she was in a little more of it, but I think they take her character to an interesting place, and she doesn't miss a beat with these dry one-liners. Emily's signature snark is fully intact. And I think the new characters, while they're not like really richly explored, they are fun presences. Simone Ashley is Amari, Miranda's new assistant, and she's got like this fun, snippy energy about her. Finally, a movie that like uses Simone Ashley. She should be in more things. She should be on the biggest screen possible always. She just has great energy, great presence, and great timing. She does really nice subtle work with Streep. Caleb Huron is lovely as Charlie, a new assistant. He is a great energy, and I love the way he plays off of Anne Hathaway. Helen J. Shen is a lot of fun as well. Again, these characters don't have a lot to them. They're just kind of fun presences rounding out the world. One thing I did notice with The Devil Wears Prada 2, though, is that it does have that weird dingy look that a lot of major modern blockbusters have. It looks so dingy. It's really lacking the visual flair, the visual vibrance of the first one, so that's a bummer. I also think it's kind of lacking a bit of a bite too. The other one felt a little punchier. This one, I think because it is so focused on telling this story about journalism and the decline of it and the fight for it, it is a bit more serious, and sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't. There are some pacing issues too. I think it starts and stops. There's a whole love interest for Andy that doesn't really get a lot of attention that kind of holds up momentum, so I would have either liked that explored a little more or completely. I get why it's there, but again, it kind of leads to like an unevenness in the film. I think the fashion looks great. The costumes, like, they spared no expense, as they did in the first one, but somehow they feel bigger and better and sharper than ever. I had a fun time with this. I appreciated and valued how topical it was and how it didn't shy away from this reality kind of plaguing the industry right now. I still think, despite maybe some of the bite being gone, it was still really funny and made me laugh. It was a fun experience in the theater. You could go way worse for legacy sequels. I definitely highly recommend seeking this out if you want to just like get away for 2 hours. I think if you're a fan of the original, you are going to enjoy this one as well. I gave this 3.5 stars. Thank you so much for checking out this review. Make sure you do all the things you're supposed to do with a YouTube video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me everywhere because there are lots of reviews coming up. We're about to get busy and you won't want to miss it. So until the next one, that's all.